Okay, Dawn Stamper, you are here with me, and I am so pleased to be talking to one of the most glamorous and charismatic YouTubers I know who is associated with hair. And it's beautiful to see you back with us again. Just very quickly to recap before we get into it. And by the way, everybody, brace yourself because we're really going to go there today. I know you from probably about 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, when I started wearing hair, and I was so busy looking at all the reviews, and I really enjoyed watching your reviews. I thought you had something special. You had a special quality to your reviews. I loved the way you showed the hair and pretended to be standing in line or at work, flipping that part, doing those dynamic, everyday things to make the hair your own. And it made me feel excited, like I wanted to try it, like I wanted to try all the colors and all the lengths and everything. But of course, suddenly there was no more Dawn Stamper on YouTube. So let's just start at the beginning. And I can respectfully ask you, where have you been?
I've been in the middle of the United States, in the Midwest, in Kansas, of all places. I've been hiding out in Kansas. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had to make some quick decisions, and I lost who I was. I don't know if I'm who I am now. But everyone has stayed right there with me, and I would daily, almost every day for 3 years, get asked questions and things, and I've been out of the game. I would always say, let me find out and I'll get back to you, things like that. I mean, I always commented back, but I was never back where I had been. I lost who I was, and I'm still trying to get back to who I am going to be, I guess. Because I'm not there yet.
Well, of course, from my point of view, you look as good as you've always looked. But what actually led to you going through this crisis that you're describing? What happened?
So, with the pandemic, we all got sent home, and I made a little video about it because I wasn't sure how well received it would be, and I guess there's still the rest to tell, and I think I can now. I was climbing on top of the walls in a little tiny apartment because I had just relocated back to where my adult sons live, because I'm going to be a grandma, and was going back to a job that I had done before, and so being at home like that, and we didn't know if the world was ending or what. So um my husband and I were climbing on top of each other, and there was a lot of alcohol involved, because that was like the only thing there was to do, and there were problems with that in my marriage in the past, and it just got to a point one day where I couldn't take it anymore, and I wanted I wanted it out of my life. I wanted, I think I needed a break. I was cracking. I was getting to a point where I was cracking, and I wanted my husband to get out. I wanted him to get out. I couldn't take the 24-hour drunk state of mind that there was with that, and I wanted him out, and he wasn't paying attention. And so I grabbed a knife out of the kitchen block, and I sat down in front of him, and I said, "I mean it. I want you to get out. I want, and then I did the dumbest thing ever, and I took it and I popped it in the top of his knee, and the neighbors heard all of this commotion and yelling, which they had heard all the time anyway. And the police were called. To make a long story short, there was no ambulance call. There was no surgery. There was no loss of limb, loss of life. It didn't even need so much as a Band-Aid. And I'm not trying to make light of what I did, but had it not been for the yelling and screaming, it would have been another thing that we had, that happened. I mean, I had my nose almost completely severed off when it got bit, so, and, I guess I didn't scream loud enough for the neighbors to get mad at that night. I don't know, but I was arrested and I was taken downtown and I was booked in, and I have had a restraining order that I had to go somewhere, and my kids were tired of hearing about, all of the years of all of the crap and all the suffering, and I don't blame them, and they want nothing to do with me, and I don't blame them, and so the only place I could go was back to my original home where I went to high school. So my sister opened her door, and that's where Pete and I are now. So I didn't know if it was temporary or not, but I spent all of these years, all of this time trying to fight it in court, and the state of California, they picked it up. There weren't any charges pressed between he and I, but the state of California picked it up, and it just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I ran out of everything. I have no belongings. I had everything I had. I had to leave. I couldn't go back home again. I mean, that I woke up that day, and that was the end of my life as I knew it.
Yeah.
And so I really had to, I spent all of this time. It was very hard to get on YouTube and make a video about how great I looked when I'm dying inside, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
So,
So just to clarify, you weren't the one with the alcohol problem, but you were
well, I
living.
participated. I mean, because the sky was falling, the world was ending. So, it wasn't like I didn't, but I was trying to get away from that. There is a problem with, there was a problem, but and I'm not. I mean, I that is not a part of my life. Hasn't been a part of my life since I left. It wasn't a situation I had. I was always the one putting him into rehab treatments over and over and over and over again, and so it's I would get this mindset of, well, if you can't beat them, join them, and that just made things worse. And then I have found out that there was a lot of other activity going on outside of my marriage, and when I found that out, I lost my mind, and I wasn't coping very well with that. I couldn't believe it, and then I look back, even through my videos, I look back over the years, and I can see it, and my own hair loss. And how that started was with all of that, being gaslit, because there was a relationship going on right under the surface that was being hid from me, but I could see it all over the place. And but I didn't want to believe that. And so, but it took a toll on me physically and with my own mental health. And then when I got myself back together again, but see, when you're literally on top of each other with this pandemic, there was no way that you can hide that kind of stuff. And the way it was we were getting a lot of DoorDash because we weren't going to the grocery store. We were afraid to leave the house. And so I remember him saying, flipping his phone to me, saying, I'll take the dog out to walk the dog, watch the phone for the DoorDash. And so it was buzzing and buzzing, and I grabbed it and I looked, and there were messages. I was blown away.
Messages
Just shocked.
from another woman.
Mm-hmm. And just shocked, but almost like I knew it anyway, so it's just a strange. And so I tried to like let it go. I don't know. There were months that I tried to deal with it, but in the end I couldn't take it, because it was all fueled by living with someone who was drinking 24/7, because at that time they were door dashing alcohol, and it was just, I would go to sleep at night and I would be woke up by a raging lunatic, out of their mind, screaming. And so I wasn't sleeping. I was sleep deprived, and it was just a nightmare.
Well,
And
it
but
sounds.
I look at my life and I know that if it hadn't been for all of this, I would still be there dealing with this mental.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to a real crisis point, and in one moment, really everything came crashing down, and you lost control of the situation completely at that stage, and you've been living with those consequences ever since. Now, if we go back into the time when you were still living together. You were living together as man and wife, but you weren't at that time initially experiencing your hair loss. Do you
Right.
remember
Come back.
when your hair loss started within that relationship?
Yeah, it was a couple of years before I had started my own YouTube channel, because I could sense, this sense the relationship, like we weren't sleeping in the same positions, and we weren't talking the same. And but it had been right after he had come out of the last rehab. And so I was at that time, I was continuing my education, and so I had a lot of courses to do to get my degree, and then it was contingent on my job, and I loved my job, and so he was very supportive of that until it actually came down to being supportive of that. um but in that time frame, when he was, seeing someone on the side, things were changing. The dynamic wasn't the same. We weren't engaging in each other, and it was, this way. And so it just, just the stress of the mental stress of trichotillomania, it just took over on me again, and I couldn't control it. And I had it had been dormant my whole life. I experienced it initially when I was very, very young, like fourth grade, and that was because my father was an alcoholic. He was in the Air Force, so he would be with us and he'd be gone. He'd be with us and he'd be gone. And so it was like a corporal punishment type environment that I was raised in. And so I had my initial, which I think is for most people when they are like young, like that, at that age group. And so I dealt with it then. And then when my mom and dad were divorced, I got normal. I got better, normal. I mean, I thought, I guess I thought it was gone for good, or at least dormant, like in remission, if you will,
So,
until this gaslighting thing is where you question your mind. You know what you know, and but when someone says you're wrong, you don't know what you know, then it's like this crazy thing that happens in your head. And it's the term now is being used as gaslighting. And so that's what started it back. And then, boy, once it turns on, it's almost like an on and off. It doesn't just turn back off. It takes time, but it seems like it goes in like a year span. I was just shocked that, there I was in my early 50s, losing my hair, which I had done in the sixth grade. It was just shocking. It was because I have a very public position with my job. I'm going out into the public, I'm going into classrooms. I was just mortified. And to lose it all, that's when my mother was talking about, you should get into wigs. And that was quite a wonderful journey. And then once I kind of thought, well, maybe it's all in my head, maybe, and we moved away from the area, which is where he had this relationship. I didn't know it had went with him. There was no support in my wig journey initially, and I think that could be because, they look kind of odd when you first start doing it. You don't really know how to, like, walk around or wear it.
so
And so
can I just ask you, when you started to lose your hair, you were under a lot of pressure within the relationship anyway, also at work. But what were your thought processes when you were starting to lose your hair, knowing that your husband was having an outside relationship and feeling probably very insecure in yourself as a woman? I mean, how did you cope with that situation?
I I I didn't. I was going to therapy and doing all the things, and I was losing my mind. I would just focus in on the college classes I was taking, which were, really, really amazing to be as an adult taking these classes, because I remember Napster. I remember when Napster first rolled through. I was a part of that, and then to be learning about it, and it was just like, wow, I'm really getting old, because now it's, in curriculum. But it was really hard for me. I was questioning my sanity all the time, because of what I was hearing and seeing. I was being told is not what it is. As you question your reality, you start to lose your mind. But but you don't see people on YouTube, experiencing these things, they everyone has, their channel and their thing that they present. And I was just doing mine because my mom was really the backbone of getting like the hair thing started, so she was really active and to getting me looking like myself again. And so she was very supportive of buying these things, because these things are not, they're not they're not cheap. And then there was that too. Then something crazy happened, was I got like this addiction to it, like that I didn't care if my marriage was coming or going, or my job was coming or going. It was all about what else can I get, and it was just an incredible experience to have these styles and these looks. And uh, I can remember like early on, just like starting to like own them, because I was not a left-hand parter. I'm always a right-hand parter, and they put that mono over here. And when I would do it that way, it would look funny, and so just trying to redo it and stuff. And my mom's like, you and I had such a hard time trying to find things and things that worked and what to do with them. And she's like, you've got to get up there and just start telling people, this is how it is, that's how you look for it, and this is what you do.
Yeah,
And
and you did a great job of that. But before you got to that stage, you had to try and introduce that hair into the marriage, and it wasn't
oh
a
God.
good reception. You were actually one of those women that were not supported by the man you were with in wearing hair, and yet he didn't want you to be losing your hair either. You were kind of in between worlds there.
It was, I remember going, getting into bed with one on, thinking maybe this will be, and just just the reception of it was just, it was so hard. I mean, it was such an emotional, mental, horrible like environment to be in my own head. So this wasn't all of that. This wasn't all that unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
But they've come such a long way since, I mean, every year they're coming out with other colors and things like that. So um I felt awkward at first, because it just overwhelms your face. Like, so for example, this time around coming here, I need to get a Kansas license. And look how can you see how, I don't know if you can see it,
Yes, I
how
can.
I didn't know how to wear it again. Let's see. Do you see that?
Yes, I do. Which one is that?
That is main attraction. What's that one called that I love? Main attraction. Main attraction.
Main attraction, Broadway.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's a good
It's
guess.
clean. That's it. And so I don't know where this one came from. I don't know if I had ordered it, or I was sending lots of wigs and old wigs and stuff to my sister, which, at one point in time, she just shoved them all in her cedar chest, and she was bringing them all out. And I think that was one that I had sent her, and is one I used to wear. And so it was like, get this on. We're going to go get your driver's license picture. It was like 2 weeks after I got here, and I I didn't I didn't know how to do it. It's like I lost all of the ability to do it. I didn't recognize myself in it. I didn't know how to fix it, and
So,
almost like it was at that time.
are you saying that you lived some of this time in these last 18 months where you actually had sparse hair, but you weren't actually wearing any hair?
When I got here, was I started donating my plasma for money, because I had no money. I mean, I came straight out of jail into my vehicle and drove for 3 days to get to my sister's house. I had nothing. I had no clothes. I
Had
had
you spent in jail?
uh I booked in the day for that day, overnight. I mean, I was booked in, spent the night and the next day before I got spit out. And I had to get out of there. I had to just leave. I had my cell phone, and my sister said, just get in the car and start driving. So I had absolutely nothing. And I mean, everything that I own is gone. I
Your
mean,
your
gone.
entire wig collection.
Everything is gone.
How
Everything,
many
everything.
how many wigs had you sort of amassed at this stage?
I think that there's a video where I have them kind of stacked around me, where I was moving from the North
I
Bay to,
remember, and you were
and I could
you were
probably count
reviewing
them up.
you were reviewing Angelica.
Oh God, yeah. I had some really good pieces, and really good colors, and but but I had gotten out of wearing them because I wasn't going to work with the pandemic. So I gotten used to my own hair. This job is different in the fact that I have to wear, safety protective gear. And I didn't know how that was going to work with this because this is like, it's like fabric. It's like your clothes. You have to keep it all covered up. You can't get, blood on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to do it. And everything looked so fake. And it was very, very, and then of course, and I remember this from the last time, is once you do it, you take the plunge, you can't go back because they've seen you now in something else. And everything just looks so fake again. Everything looks so like not natural again. And I didn't have, I don't have the finances that I had before. I don't have two incomes. I have only my own. And the income level in Kansas is way different than it is in California.
So you found yourself in a new place at your sister's place. Was she a wig wearer or not?
She got her into wigs as well. She always had a problem getting her hair to go. Both my sisters. I have two sisters. I have one sister I grew up with, and then I have a younger sister who came along later. Both of them I was able to kind of introduce into their lives for totally different reasons. And so for my older sister, she loved the convenience of just having to, you didn't have to spend time in the morning with a blow dryer and all this mess, and it still not look good. And the coloring, and you go get it colored, and it's not what you think, and then they cut it too short, and then just the tears and the sadness. And so but she's not like, my older sister's not like me. I'm in here and I'm like, fix it up, make it up, put it up. And she's just more of a like, keep it nice and perfect. And now we go, like just the totally different.
Okay. So were you able to maybe take one of her pieces? I mean, I'm asking specifically as far as going into this new job, because you said you were donating plasma, but you managed to get a job at the place where you were donating, but you're having to wear a shield and protective clothing, protective equipment. So
I wasn't losing my hair right away, which is crazy. I mean, to have all of this happening, I had nothing, no clothes, no nothing. So she opens up her cedar chest, and all the things that I had sent her, she still had. Sorry, she still kept everything that I sent her to play with. So I had some fun things to kind of help me once my hair started going again.
Yeah. You must have felt like you had a little piece of yourself there in that chest that you could pull out and start to familiarize yourself again. It sounds so traumatic, Dawn. But are you wearing Seville right now?
How did you know? Yes. How did you know?
Well,
yes.
I'm a bit annoyed because I just bought Alva because I was so enamored with how it looked on you. And now you're in Seville, and I'm starting to think, should I have bought Seville instead? But how about we actually do a switcheroo? Let's do a switcheroo. I'm going to
I've got an Alva. I've got my new Alva. Should I go Alva or should I go crazy? I've got some that I'm not going to say what they are because you can't get them anymore. And I think they're kind of crazy. I think that's why you can't get them anymore. So just to show that they don't all look that great on me. They all need a little work, but some of them are beyond help.
Yeah. Well, we can't do
So let me find something else here that's here. Give me a second.
I've got a little bit of tape here. If anybody is watching who doesn't actually wear wigs, nobody wants to go out like this, ladies. If you've got this sort of situation going on, I'd much rather go out like this.
What you got? What you got?
So I've got a Paula Young, and it is Collins in SF1228.
I don't know what I've got. I've got a mess. I've got.
Oh, this is a new one, isn't it?
It's a it's a new one. Yeah. I
Let's let's come back to that. Let's come back to that one. Would you put Alva on? I just want to see it. And what
Oh yeah.
color is the Alva in?
So this is my new one, and I thought I was getting like a better deal on it. So it's not. I don't think I would have picked this color had it not been for a better deal. I got a good deal on it, so it was probably like a return of some sort. So the color of this one is candy brown long root, LR, candy brown long root. So let me put this on. This
We're
yeah,
gonna come
this one.
back to that one because I think I've got its sister here.
So I've had this one up on my channel a little here and there. This is so good because this is good for my job. I probably wouldn't be so enamored with it if it weren't for it's just perfect like for my job. Because um I have to wear that shield. And then because I'm around bloodborne pathogens and they blood flies, and so it's perfect. And then to be in a it's perfect. So
In fact, Collins wouldn't be bad either. If you
and
had
then I've I don't people what's so fun about YouTube is that you can see your piece styled
oh, yeah.
different ways. Like I don't think I would ever do this like right down the middle, but I saw someone because there are so many more people now reviewing in so many different age groups and face shapes. You got really long faces, you got really round faces, and just different styles than there were back, when I even a few years ago. So I like never thought in my life I'd ever be a right down the middle person. And I don't know why. I just like it on the,
I love
off
it.
the right.
I love it on you. I love it on you. When I used to watch your channel before, every
So
piece
one
you
trick
put on
pony.
was enchanting. I was literally enchanted by every piece. It made me happy. I was in a fantasy world, which I never wanted to return from. So let's go back then. So you opened that chest, you had a few of your things there, and you started your new life. So where are you actually living at the moment?
So I went straight into Wichita, Kansas, which is where I was out of high school and left from here. I left from here to be a grown up, and I went from here as a kid, in my late teens, and then left and was in California for like 30 some years. But I rolled up right into my older sister's house. This is my sister who I grew up with, and rolled right up into their house, which was packed. I mean, she's, it was full of everybody. And she gave me a room, and it wasn't long before I started donating plasma, because you could donate like 8 times and get $100 for each time, because I had to get rid of the Mustang. It had a car note on it, and the cars weren't being paid on anyway, so it was going to get repossessed at some point. So I had to get rid of it, and then I needed money, for an attorney, because I have like the state of California has 2 felonies against me and
Yes.
all this other stuff. And so I had to get a criminal attorney. And of course, I can't talk to my husband because I have a restraining order from the state that says I can't talk to him at all. So here I come. I come from being a vegan for several years, eating plants, to to the Midwest, which is grass fed, grass, grass everything. And so I gained a lot of weight really fast. And because I mean, I can't sit in my sister's house and tell my brother-in-law, who does mainly all the cooking, yeah, I'd like to have some carrots, you know, uh, forget the meat, I can't even believe how different my life is. But I just thought that I would be just marking time, waiting for things, to pass, get through this court thing, because the state brought charges on me, not him. The state wanted to make a uh I don't know.
Example of you.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was wild to me, like just crazy to me. And I fought as long as I could. 2.5 years is a long time to be, planting my flag. And so I was never in the right frame of mind to talk about it on YouTube, to anyone really. Anyone. No, I never told anyone that I was working with. They're all kind of like blown away. Some of them are just like, what? You know, some of
Well,
them don't
you
know.
said that you got messages on your YouTube channel every day for the
Every day.
entire
So that's
time you were
incredible.
away.
every day I would get at least one comment on one video that I had posted, and I never lost subscribers. I lost subscribers who were subscribed to me for just someone I worked with, like at a job, who knew would
Yes.
subscribe, but they weren't a channel watcher, they weren't a wig watcher, they weren't all of the legit wig people watchers. They have all stayed. I at the time I wasn't focused on that or the channel or anything. They wanted content from me, and I never watched rig reviews before. I wasn't watching them during all this. I was watching like uh furniture flipping kind of stuff. Like I got this dresser here for like $25 on Facebook Marketplace, and I brought it home, stripped it down, painted it. I was into that. It was taking my mind off of things. I wallpapered a different wallpaper on every wall. I mean, I was occupying my time and trying to enjoy my life, because I was I didn't want to live anymore. I mean, I was having a hard time finding reason to live again, and I wasn't who I was or who I'd ever thought I was going to be again. I started to realize over time that my life as I knew it, that I had built it into being, was dead, was gone. That was somebody that was never going to be resurrected again. So who am I? And I don't want to be. And it has been a real mental challenge. And I would go to therapists. I get it at no charge from my job. And then, so I was at a point where I was about to lose this job. And then I thought, well, God, what kind of work can I do? I'll never be able to go back into my career field, because I tried to do that, but I can't work in education, putting people to work in their field and in their jobs with a criminal background. And that's something that, even though I hadn't been convicted, it still shows that I'm in process in the state of California. And I was dropped so fast from callbacks and stuff. So there's the loss of my career that I had worked for and built and loved and nurtured and grew, and I can never do it again. I mean, I had losses beyond my comprehension, and I literally didn't want to wake up anymore. And I had never been in that place in my life, I think. And I've been in some pretty dark times and spots, but never like that. And I tell you, honest to God, the only thing that I think saved me many times was the Chihuahua, because I thought, who's going to take care of him? Who is going to, feed him or walk him the way I know he wants to be fed and walked? Like, there's walking around the neighborhood, but he likes the dog park. He likes the terrain. He likes to get in there with the big dogs because he thinks he's one, and just, I mean, who's going to do that for him? I didn't trust anybody to do that for him. And I really, truly believe that many times he has saved my life. So,
And I'd like to get into the second wig journey of your life. So here you are, your new life, you've got a job, you're living at your own place now. Did you
so
notice?
I live with my two nieces. So I live, because I mean, my expenses, I've had to shell out a lot of money in a lot of legal fees. So I'm looking, I can take my position here, and it can grow with me, and I can move with it, and I can, relocate it, and maybe go to Florida at some point, because I work with a girl who's relocated to Florida.
You've got ideas about things that you
Yeah.
can do, but let's just grapple the problem at hand at that time, which was you wanted to wear hair to work, but the people are very
So,
different to the kind of people that you were mixing with in your old place, in your old life. Tell me more about it.
so I see people of all different walks of life, and most of them are donating plasma because of a reason. They need that money. It isn't a guarantee. It's a gift. You donate your plasma, and you get the gift of, a fee. So, um, I have to wear this shield, and people come in there and they see me, and and they're like, "What did you do to your hair? Like, what is that?" And I never experienced that ever in my life. Um, having so many people question it, and it I was really, really surprised at that, because all through the first journey, all the things I'd ever heard from other people were like that it was always well received. And maybe that's a culture thing. I was in one level of life, say working mid class, and now I'm not. I'm in a like a different class now. I live on the south side, if that tells you anything. I'm not trying to be discriminatory, but there's just something about where you live and the area you're in, and how you're taken. And I hadn't experienced that since I was a kid, being on the south side. And so that has been quite something to have to be like so conscious of it already. I'm already conscious of it, but then to have people can I touch it? Can I touch it? And then when you say, it's just it's alternative hair or whatever it is, like, can I touch it? Or then it gets like into these long conversations. I don't have time for that. I got to get the next person and I don't want to talk about it anyway. And it looks so good, and it's funny how quick their memories fade. But a lot of people don't donate all the time, and so they haven't seen it yet. And then, for something about me is I get tired of the same look every day, and I want something different, and then a different color. And that came back to me this time around too. Or I can't just buy whatever. And so I had my sister had saved, which were big pieces that were going under these shields, and they didn't fit right, didn't look right. It's not the right work hair, like Broadway with all its curls. And so I had actually got an Alva, the first Alva, when I was back in California for my actual sentencing. And I picked that up there, and it was like so perfect because it hits the collar, so that if anything gets, it can really get protected. And it was just perfect and simple. And but then there's something that just kind of gets you, like where you want more and more color and different colors and styles and excitement, and it grows for me from there.
Yes, but what makes things more complicated even is that you went from having much more weight on you and not much hair to actually becoming slimmer and having hair, different hair.
Yeah, I got put on blast by I got a new boss, and he was a young whippersnapper, and he was coming out here from the West Coast, and he had something to prove. And he looked at me like an old lady who couldn't get around and was grossly overweight, because I had, I'm out here in the Midwest where everything's cooked and fried and all this meat, and I'd come from eating vegetables. So the weight gained on me huge. And I had all this gray hair, and then it was like, like bald spots, and it was just terrible. And I was mortified, and I could barely make it into work, or I'd go to work and come home and not go back to work. So I was on I was on my final written warning. And that's when I realized, oh my God, what would I do? If I don't have this job, I can't fight my case. And everything else at one time. So I started dieting. I started dieting just to get up the steps to go into bed, to lay down, to sleep all day, and then do it all over again. So I had to make a change. I had to do it. I had to make a change. And then yeah, so I just had to take that plunge again, like I did the first time, and I'll never forget it. The anxiety, the heart pumping, the chest, like, oh my God, they're all going to notice, So
it's nerve-wracking for sure. We both talk about it. It's nerve-wracking when you have to give the big initial reveal and kind of field people's reactions.
You look crazy.
The secret to wearing hair successfully is feeling yourself, feeling confident, and enjoying it. And people then tend to follow your lead. Okay, so we had to restart the interview due to some technical details, and I noticed that you've got something new on your head. But let's just stick for a moment to the story that you're in the middle of telling us about, that you had to go through that same introducing yourself with a wig on again, and people's reactions were extremely different, and the wigs weren't actually very suitable for work. So
right.
How did you cope with that, and how did you make those the changes that you needed to make?
So I had Broadway first. I had the Broadway, and that's the one I wore to court. It was the praline that was the dark, like black almost, with gold, tips in it. That's the one, and that's the one I wore to my
Yeah.
for my driver's license picture.
Yeah. Got
That.
it. Yeah.
And so it was big like this, and I had this shield on around it, and it was like all this permatease and curl was pushing it out, but I didn't have anything else, and I didn't have any money to buy anything else. And the comments were, they would stand in line and look at me, and like, and they would like talk, and it was horrible. It was a horrible, but I had no choice because I had bald spots that weren't going away, and now I have this hair, and so I was trying to look like I was living and not dying, and so it was a struggle. The shield that I wear didn't fit around that Broadway. It was a Broadway. It was Broadway. The one in my driver's license picture. It didn't fit. It felt funny, and it kept like it wouldn't sit upright, and it was odd. It was a huge adjustment, and I was thinking to myself, this is what it's probably really like for women who are putting themselves in this, and they're watching a me on a wig channel that doesn't even come close to what's really happening in the world. And I had gained a ton of weight, so I put myself on a diet, and I got, I had to make some serious life changing decisions, and I still didn't know the outcome of my case, and what was going on. I mean, I was looking at 5 years in prison, 5 years in prison from the DA. My life was just just it was very hard to sort out. It was very quiet and very lonely, and just I didn't know who I was. It was something else. So I didn't have money to be buying wigs, and so I started looking at the cheaper stuff, and that's like kind of where this stuff came in. And I mean, this is what women are dealing with, and then I just think they're getting on YouTube and they're looking at me, and it's like, this isn't realistic. This isn't real life, and so it was really hard for me to even think about making a review or of what of this, like this can't be like for real. And then women are still commenting on my videos. Wait, where are you? And asking questions. And I kept telling them, I would respond, and I would say, well, and I was mentally trying to get back to it, but I just couldn't. I would try, I would kind of set things up to try to make a video, but everybody else had videos. And so what did they need a video of me? Like it just didn't seem like it was going to matter if I did one, but they kept asking. But I just felt like nothing looked right. Like I couldn't make it my own. And I think that was more not just because I was buying them wrong, but because of my own mental state. I didn't look in the mirror and see myself anymore. I didn't recognize myself in my reflection of my car window. When you get in the car, I didn't know who I was, and that was a big part of it.
Yeah. So,
Um,
but eventually you decided you were going to pick up that vlogging camera again. Why did you
well,
do
I lost a little bit of weight, and I could kind of see myself again. I saw myself again. I could see my reflection of who I am. Somebody had asked me in an old video about the bronzer, this bronzing
that?
stuff
Yeah,
that I used to,
I
and I
remember
was like,
that.
I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that stuff. Like, so it was interesting how the viewers asking me all along the way
Yeah.
brought me back to my own
They
self.
were
It was crazy.
reminding you of yourself.
Yes. And so I went from looking like this in the mirror at myself to being able to like remember, like just how to move it around. Like I don't know why I thought I was afraid to move things around and like just make it my own.
Yeah.
And so I it was just amazing how I had to relearn, like they were learning from me and I was learning from them asking me again.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that stuff. So then putting a little color on my face, I saw myself again, like, oh my God, that kind of looks like me. Like I had really stopped notice. I forgot what I looked like. And so yeah, so it made my fate with my court case and all this stuff a lot easier to manage because
Right. Right. Because
yeah.
hair, this sort of hair, and seeing as you're not wearing the best hair I've ever seen in my life, I'm going to join you in your plight by putting on this very stiff wig, real hair that I bought from Timu. Now look at the
Oh
color.
yeah, wow, it's gorgeous. I mean, the color looks good.
Well,
It's
it's
really,
okay, but let me put it on and we'll see what you think.
Where did they make this wig from? Oh, okay.
You know what? It looks better on the screen, but I can assure you, my dear, that it's kind of the hair just lays over the top of it. There's there's nothing between the long strands and the cap. There's no permatease. It just sort of sits. It's placed, sitting on that cap, and it's real hair. It's a shame, but this is what we've got with it. So I'm going to join you in your quite unusual hair.
That's real hair?
That's real hair.
Wow.
And it cost what? Hardly anything from Temu.
I have a whole bag of real hair that's just a real mess. Like a
Right.
whole bag.
Just
A
because
bag.
it's real hair doesn't mean that it's a superior piece. We really need to
No.
say that. And I
Yeah,
need to
seriously.
curl it or something. It's got real box hair. It needs to come down like this.
I feel like when I got back to making reviews again, like I remember this from before. Everyone saying like they just look so good on you. Well, like I mean, I've been sitting here messing with this. This
Yeah.
is not a good piece. It's just not a good piece. And I got it because it was cheap. That's just the straight truth.
But of course, you decided now that you were finding your confidence again and making videos, etc. Did you start thinking of how you could rebuild your life in terms of maybe spending time with somebody so that you're not so isolated? Perhaps a young man might be on the scene, etc. What's the situation with that?
Well, so that's the other thing too, when you start looking like you're living, and not dying,
Yeah.
you look like you're dying when when you have hair loss and your whole complexion and facial expressions all just go with it. So when I started, it was all came from the turning point of my job and losing my job and how that was going to impact me overall. So I started looking better, and of course, then I start feeling better, and then I start getting solicited for business, if you will. So
You were
um,
looking for business. Okay.
so I'm getting the offers like, each encounter I have at my job is one, like, hey, we should have coffee, or we should, so that was really foreign to me for a while because I thought now I'm back into wigs again, and now it's going to have to explain that again. But yeah, so I decided, I was tired of sitting around being by myself and being bored, and I wanted adult company, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so I selected one, if you will, that had been, dropping hints about, hey, we should, get your dog together with my dog. This time around is a whole lot different in different ways, like being at work and people at work not understanding it, like why is, like what, and so I guess now they're just to the point where they're just like, what's it going to be today, like a amusement thing.
Not news.
um
Yeah.
like oh look so it's like I guess they expect it now. But when, and that could be true with the individual that I chose to say like, hey, yeah, let's um go out for coffee or whatever it is.
So have
So
you started a new relationship?
yeah, I have. I picked one, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge too because I still have other things I have to deal with my past. I still have to, go through probation. I'm on probation. I'm a convicted felon, if you will,
And does
on a
he,
wig
and
journey.
have you told him about what happened to
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. I did.
Has he ever seen you without your
Yeah, yeah.
wigs?
Yeah,
How did
and
that go?
what's funny is we were just talking about it last night. It's funny. I said, do you know I'm the same person that was, and he said yes, but always just seemed like a wounded bird, like wounded, like just, I didn't engage in a lot of conversation at the, over the each procedure, and until a certain point in time when I started looking like I was living. I had color in my face and I had color in my hair, and I just color, makeup. I didn't wear makeup for 2 years. I was a shell of myself. You wouldn't have
Yeah.
recognized me.
Yeah.
And so now I look like a living being,
Yes.
and not a bad looking living being. And so, and when I talk, it's pretty engaging. It's interesting conversation, and people want to hang out with me and talk more about all kinds of stuff. And so it's just interesting now to be in a relationship with someone that is still pretty brand new, but to be having, to be meeting their family members and things, but then I'm in this type of hair, and I think I'm back to where it was the first time around with how I look underneath, and being comfortable in that, because this time, which is different from the last time, I'm even more white and gray than I was the last time, like older.
As you say, in the past, or some younger or just different people on YouTube, they're taking off their wig and they've got reasonable coverage
Yeah.
underneath. But at this stage in our life, I've taken mine off. You know what's underneath. It's different. It's different. And when you're in a dating situation, they want to do stuff, let's have a shower, let's do this, let's do that. How did you cope with that specific thing?
Oh God. So, well, like the first time I avoided it. Oh no, I gotta go. And it gets to a point where you can't. And I think I found out that I had more of an issue with it than he did. And we watch so many wig reviews, and we see so many people, like this group of us women that are all in wigs and all talking about wigs. But in reality, if you put us all together where we're actually at, we're so far apart from each other.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone around us is wearing wigs. So men don't know, like they're
Yeah.
not, their experience with it is not big, to even know this stuff. So
Mhm.
it's just strange to have to be so confident and comfortable with it yourself to take it off, but that's not, it is still a journey. You talk about a journey, to be able to take it off, and or if it gets bumped and moved around, it's like, just, oh, it's another stress level that we never really hear about on YouTube. I don't ever see it. All I hear is just sit them down and just tell them, and how lucky you are that you're going to get a redhead tonight and a blonde in the morning. And it's not like that in real life.
Yeah.
It is, it is like, I'm planning way ahead when I know we're going out or I'm going over, or whatnot. I'm planning, like, how, like, and so what's nice is that knowing I was going to talk about this with you, it gave me the opportunity to sit down with him and talk about this with him. And come to find out, I'm the one that's got more of an issue about it than he does. It's interesting how the mind works, because he knows that was me, but doesn't make the connection, uh that it's me. It's two versions of the same person, but almost, because I would, when they stand in line and they get who they get as they go through the system here,
Yeah.
they hear me talking and singing and interacting with, just where before I was just a shell, like very, to myself. So I'm like two different people. I mean, I can't blame him for responding to me here differently than there. I mean, I'm in full living color, where before I was black and white, literally black, gray hair, black and white.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't blame him for responding to me in a different way now, or anybody else who's like dropping their phone numbers and that type of thing, wanting to visit with me because I'm alive. It's like somebody turned on the light switch, or a color television, and now, you just saw me last week in black and white, and this week I'm in living color. It's a strange
So,
phenomenon that.
do you think that men just simply respond to what they see in front of them? Are they a little bit more pragmatic? Are they a little bit more black and white in their thinking? It's okay. Okay, now this is the version. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Let's just go with this one. But there still comes a time at the end of the night that you need to take your hair off. I mean, what happens then?
So it's interesting when you say men in general. I look at my first relationship with wigs, and that man,
Yeah.
different than now.
Right.
So the first exposure and experience with wigs that I was having several years ago, in my when I my channel started, my husband was not into it. He, it was as odd looking to him looking at me as it was to me looking at myself in the mirror. And I was trying to figure out myself in it, and so was he. And for him, he would rather me not do it, thinking I feel like he thought I looked like a clown. I'm not saying he said that. I'm just saying that's the attitude and thing I got from it that made me feel it wasn't easy to get going. And so there's that, and I think I expected that this time around, but this time around I'm in a different, I'm not married to somebody in my home. I don't have that dynamic that I'm dealing with. I'm dating, so I can do or say, and if it doesn't fly, it's okay, go to the next, on to the next. It's a different dynamic this time around, but different still, because you don't want to be fake or phony, but you want to look decent and alive. So uh he doesn't have any issues with it. He says I have more of an issue with it than he does. And it's true, because I wouldn't wear this if I was happy with what was going on underneath. And now this time, because I've lost it and it's grown back in, it's like white. My hair used to have color in it. Like if you go back and look through my channel, like right before I stopped, I was making some videos in my own hair, and it had color and variety. Now because that has all come out, it's all come back in, and I'm only 56. It's all completely white.
Yeah.
I look, and so that makes me look older. And so like it's just, it's a mental journey, this whole journey. It's with ourselves and with the people that we put into this with us, that it's okay with them. It's really complex. It's very, very complex. But I'm really, really lucky that it's not as big of a deal for him as it is for me. Because in my first relationship, it was a big deal for him. The channel was a big deal in my first relationship. Didn't like that I was on out, saying like, look at my problems, more or less.
Yeah.
And then this one is completely different. And this one doesn't care about the channel, doesn't watch the channel, doesn't even know has no interest in what I'm doing or saying it anyway, because that's not what he's interested in me for. We have a blast. I mean, we laugh our asses off. My stomach hurts. My sides are killing me because we laugh so hard about it's an incredible relationship that I'm having, that I've never had in my life with anyone. And I think it's because I'm coming from a different place. I'm so disjointed from where I was, and so everything is like, I'm not making like lifetime decisions. I'm making them very small as I go, because I mean, I'm a felon. That's a big one, you know what I mean? But like, that's a hard thing.
But nobody knows what's around the corner. Now let's go to the last part of this chat. How about you put on something a little bit more pleasing? Yeah, and I'm going to put on a topper, and then we can talk about what you see for yourself if you're thinking about the future at this stage, which you may not be, and that's perfectly fine.
Here's another one. I don't know what this one is. It's probably a mess. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, this is another mess.
Oh yes, but you know something? I actually think that's okay. If anybody comes across this this video who doesn't wear hair, they're going to be so confused.
Oh, this one's a mess. This one's going to need like everything. But see, this just goes to show you that they don't all work. They don't all work. And that's the one thing I thought I was getting across on my channel, was that I don't look great in everything. And I don't want to show that I look great in everything. See, here's this tag. I mean, this is all I could afford at the time. I was putting all my money out on legal fees and things, and I couldn't afford like a John Renault or a Estetica.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I can't afford a John Renault without actually saving for it.
Yeah, I really have to save. And then when you get it and it's not easy to work with, like that dumb fin. Where's that dumb fin? so upset about that because, like,
How
you
much
know,
was that? And I
I am
didn't
right
see.
where everyone else is. I'm a one woman show with my own income, and that's it. And I have restitution to pay, so my money is all allotted for. And I'm in the Midwest. I don't make money anymore, and I don't have a husband to support me in anything. So I have to really be careful with what I'm purchasing. And like, this just isn't it. And when I see this on a YouTuber who I think I respect and admire, that wouldn't that I think they've done something, because how are they getting what they're, this is not this.
It's a little bit like the Team U one. I think you're going to have to do something with the top. It's the top that's the problem. But what? But let's talk about what you're getting out of your channel now, and what you want to. How do you want your channel to be? What is it that you're trying to say in your channel? If anything, you don't have to have a big plan. But what's the state of play now?
You're gonna make me cry.
I love you.
I got you out of this journey, the second time around. I didn't even know you were there. And God, you're
I
trying to
was
break.
there. I was there all along.
That's what just kills me, is you were, and I didn't even know it. So like that's remarkable to me. I don't know if you've noticed, but I never ask anyone to like and subscribe. I did, because that's what you did back then. But I'm not interested in anybody liking anything they don't like, or subscribing to something they don't and really want to see. And I don't make any promises, and I'm not interested in showing just the best of the best anymore. Like, I really don't care about that, because I'm a different. I mean, I really felt like I was very genuine before, because it was all new for me, and I wasn't interested in putting on airs. That's why I would go out into my environment and just be. I had a YouTuber that I adored when I first was watching YouTube, trying to navigate my way in my crazy relationship at home, and my loss of hair in my life, and how to figure out things. And I had one I just adored. She was awesome. And I couldn't, I would stay up waiting for her to drop a video and watch again and again and take
Do you
screenshots.
remember the name?
And Blondie Locks,
Blondie.
Blondie Locks, Blondie Locks. And
Okay.
I still have some screenshots back in my photographs, because I would take still shots of how she would style it and look at it.
Yeah.
And she would show how she would cut it down, and and I loved her. And then one day she was gone. And
Yeah.
so I know that's what that's like. And she's gone. She is gone. So I know what it was like for me, and how I felt. So uh I just I have it's different for me this time. I'm in a totally different place starting out than I was even the first time around.
Where are you taking your channel? What message do you want to give in your channel? If
That's
you
a good question.
if you've got one, you might not. You might be just taking it one step at a time just to see where you end up, and that's perfectly fine.
Wow, that's really something thoughtful. Um I think I kind of felt pressured to get back on, from all 3 years of no, of like saying, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. And then I didn't want to get on here and be a downer. And so just in trying to get stuff that I can work in, trying to show that, um, not knowing how well received my legal situation would be, because that's not something you see on YouTube.
That's true.
So, and everyone has an opinion, and some can think, I belong in prison because people they were trying to convict me for 5 years. That's pretty shocking. They know nothing about me. So I see people in a different way than I ever did. It's so I'm still like so starting out again, all over again. The wig channel part of YouTube was on the rise back when I was in the mix, and it's kind of gone its thing, and has its celebrities, if you will. And I didn't grow with that, because I had life pull me down. And so I've seen that, and I know they have those up there, and so I'm just down here with everybody else, and I like it. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. Um I think the most amazing thing that's happened to me is that I've got to spend some quality time with you, and it's blessed me beyond belief. Like I don't want to think about this interview being over because I don't want to. I've enjoyed my time with you so much. I'm crying. I'm sorry. I've enjoyed it so much. And it's not like I can even drive over to see you.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. So really, as you say, the wig reviewing, the business of wig reviewing has evolved,
Yeah, it's
but
something else.
of course, women come in all different situations, and all different types of women, in whatever situation they're in, may still need or choose to wear hair. And surely, if nothing else, you're showing that no matter where you find yourself, where you've landed after a huge explosion, you still choose to wear hair, and you still have to get up every day and put one foot in front of the other and start relationships and talk to strangers and go into work, etc., etc. And that's what the wig journey really is, isn't it? It's not just posing in front of the camera and talking it up.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
so much more than that.
It is. It's not glamorous. My life isn't glamorous. It and I look back at the channel that and the videos I created, and it did appear that it was glamorous. I used elements of what I saw when I would watch my YouTuber, my Blondie Locks. The elements she put out in her videos, the things I really loved about them, I implemented into mine. Where she would say, "Okay, Jeeves, get the car," and so you'll see that where I walk back and I say, "Table for two," and how it would look if you really saw me, how it would
I
how it
love
would be.
that. I love that. I love
So
that.
it's not just like, here's my right side, here's my left side. That's what we were seeing. It's like so that you could see the realism that it could be. So
Exactly.
I love that about hers. Hers were they were cute. They were over the top because they were like, she was like a princess, and she would smile, and she'd have like her tooth like sparkle. So I wasn't getting what I saw on YouTube, and that was devastating because what was I going to do with it now, and it's like not anywhere near the picture in the catalog or online, and that would just I just could not understand how they could do that. It just, that was my so I would open that stuff up right in front of you, no cutting, no this, no that. So I saw what you saw and what I could do with it. So it wasn't like I was hiding anything, because I just felt like that the money that I was spending on this, you need to see what I'm getting, because if you're not getting what I'm getting, then there's a real defect there or something's wrong. And so that was kind of my shtick, and I really wasn't finding that for myself, except one girl. I found one girl. She had two videos that I found, but she was a different skin tone, and that's the other thing too. Like, I started out in my wig journey buying free equal trust wigs and deep trust wigs, and the roots were like a 1B. It was black to here. It wasn't made for me, but I could afford those, and I'm in that position now. I can afford those, but they don't go for me, and it's like, so it's so, I don't know, unfair. If I don't know that
Yeah.
that they're made for certain skin tones and colors, but because of mine, I have to pay
Pay a
out the
premium.
nose.
I think that's the word you're looking for. You have to pay a premium. But let's continue keeping our feet on the ground and our heads in the stars.
Yeah,
And I thank you very much for your time today. I'm probably going to jump onto Instagram and we're going to say goodbye a little bit better. But
yeah.
I just thank everybody for watching and welcoming back our sister home, welcoming her home where she belongs, in our hearts, and we definitely look forward to all of your uploads. I'll be watching, and we'll do a formal close now, but I'll speak to you again in a minute. So all the best to you.
Love you. I love you so much.
Bye-bye.